I never imagined I'd be the one to finally stand up to Karen Matthews, the infamous HOA president of Whispering Pines. For 3 long years, she'd controlled our neighborhood like a dictator armed with a clipboard, measuring lawns down to fractions of an inch and issuing citations if your mailbox color strayed even slightly from the approved eggshell tone number 7. Still, even I couldn't have foreseen just how far she'd push things or how dramatically everything would come crashing down around her. It all began when my sister, her husband, and their kids came to stay with me while their home underwent renovations. My nephew Ethan, who's 11, has cerebral palsy and relies on a wheelchair. He's one of the most intelligent and resilient kids I know. On the very first day they arrived, we set up a lightweight, removable aluminum ramp over the 2 steps leading to my front door. It wasn't permanent or invasive, just a simple, practical fix so Ethan could move in and out of the house on his own. The doorbell rang at 7:30 the next morning. Standing there was Karen herself, platinum blonde bob, perfectly coiffed despite the early hour, expensive sunglasses resting on her head, and that infamous clipboard hugged tightly against her chest. "Good morning," she said, offering a rigid smile that never reached her eyes. "I've observed an unauthorized alteration to your property," blinked, still groggy from sleep. "I'm sorry, what?" "The ramp," she clarified, pointing with a perfectly manicured finger. "It's not listed among approved front entry structures. Article 7, Section 12 of the HOA bylaws states that any exterior modification requires prior approval from the Architectural Review Committee. You'll need to remove it immediately." I inhaled slowly. "Karen, it's a temporary ramp for my nephew. He uses a wheelchair and is only staying here for a few weeks." She glanced down at her clipboard. "I don't see any approved accommodation requests on file. You'll need to submit Form 34B, including architectural schematics, material samples, and a physician's letter. The committee meets on the first Tuesday of next month." I stared at her in disbelief. "My nephew needs access now, not a month from now. This is a reasonable accommodation under the Americans with Disabilities Act." Karen's expression hardened. "This HOA predates ADA requirements, and our bylaws supersede them. You have 48 hours to remove the unauthorized structure, or you'll be fined $50 per day." With that, she turned sharply and marched down my walkway, leaving me stunned in the doorway. I spent the rest of the day researching and quickly learned she was completely wrong. The ADA absolutely applies to homeowners associations, regardless of when they were formed. I printed the relevant statutes and placed them in her mailbox, along with a courteous note explaining the ramp would remain until my nephew left, and that I was open to discussing any concerns. The next evening, I returned from work to find a violation notice taped to my door along with a $200 fine for nuisance correspondence placed in a non-approved mailbox. Apparently, leaving documents in Karen's mailbox violated yet another bylaw. I laughed at the ridiculousness at first, but that feeling didn't last. The following Saturday morning, while I was making breakfast, Ethan rolled into the kitchen in tears. "Uncle James," he said shakily, "someone took my ramp. I can't go outside to play with the other kids." I rushed to the front door. The ramp was gone, not shifted or relocated, but completely removed. Through the window I saw neighborhood kids playing street hockey. Ethan had been excited to watch them all week. My anger surged instantly. I knew exactly who had done this. I carried Ethan down the steps and positioned him where he could still see the game, then headed straight for Karen's house. Her immaculate white colonial sat at the end of the cul-de-sac like a stronghold, hedges trimmed with surgical precision. I rang her doorbell 3 times before she answered, dressed in tennis attire even though I'd never once seen her near a court. "Where is the ramp?" I demanded, skipping any polite formalities. Karen folded her arms. "It was removed under Section 23 of the bylaws regarding unauthorized structures and HOA remediation rights. You were given notice. That ramp is my property. You stole it. Where is it?" I fought to keep my voice steady. She let out an exaggerated sigh, as if dealing with an unruly child. "The non-compliant item has been disposed of. If you continue behaving in a hostile manner, I'll report you for creating a disruptive environment, which carries a $500 fine." I was stunned. "Karen, that ramp cost over $800. More importantly, my disabled nephew can't leave the house without being carried now. That's not just cruel, it's illegal. I'm merely enforcing the bylaws you agreed to when you moved here, she replied smugly. Perhaps next time you'll use the proper channels before altering the exterior aesthetic of our community. I took a step back, realizing I needed a different approach. You know what? You're right. I should have followed proper channels, and now I will. I pulled out my phone and snapped a photo of her. Smile for the evidence. Her confidence cracked instantly. What do you think you're doing? Documenting the individual who committed theft and violated federal disability law. The officers would appreciate having a clear photo, I added quietly, as I turned and walked away, leaving her spluttering behind me. You can't prove anything, she yelled. And the police don't care about HOA disputes. She was right about one thing: I wasn't heading to the local police station just yet. Instead, I went straight home and called an attorney who specialized in HOA compliance. After I explained everything, his excitement was unmistakable. This is a textbook case, he said. Destruction of medical equipment, intentional HOA violations, theft of property valued over $500. She's exposed herself to serious legal consequences. The following Monday, I took the day off work. At exactly 9 o'clock in the morning, two things happened at once. Karen received a certified letter from my attorney detailing the numerous federal laws she had violated, and I formally filed a police report for the theft and destruction of medical equipment. By lunchtime, 3 other families in Whispering Pines had stepped forward with stories of Karen selectively enforcing HOA rules against residents with disabilities or medical conditions. Her response was swift. She announced an emergency HOA meeting for that very evening. I attended, along with nearly every homeowner in the neighborhood. It was a dramatic change from the usual sparsely attended meetings where Karen and her 2 loyal board members ruled uncontested. She stood at the podium, face flushed, gripping a thick bundle of bylaws. We have a resident attempting to bypass established procedures, she began, shooting a glare in my direction. If we allow one unauthorized ramp, what's next? Purple houses? Commercial trucks parked in driveways? I waited until she finished, then raised my hand. When she begrudgingly acknowledged me, I stood. I'd like to address the board regarding the theft and destruction of medical equipment taken from my property, which constitutes a federal offense. Her face darkened from red to a deep shade of purple. That's a lie, she snapped. The HOA has remediation authority. I raised my phone. I have security footage showing you and the association's maintenance worker removing the ramp at 6:15 a.m. Saturday morning. I didn't actually have the footage, but the maintenance worker's reaction told me everything. I also have the purchase receipt, HOA documentation proving the ramp's necessity, and written statements from 3 medical professionals detailing how its removal restricted my nephew's access to basic daily activities. The room fell completely silent. Karen scanned the crowd for support, but even her most loyal board members suddenly found the floor incredibly interesting. And that's not all, I continued. I've already spoken with the district attorney's office about pursuing charges for theft over $500, destruction of medical equipment, conspiracy to violate civil rights under color of authority, and violations of the Fair Housing Act. A woman near the back stood up. My son has autism, she said. Karen fined me for installing a swing in our backyard that helps with his sensory regulation. She called it an eyesore. An elderly man raised his hand next. She forced me to remove the handrail I added near my garden steps after my hip surgery. Suddenly, the floodgates burst open. One by one, neighbors shared their stories of Karen's oppressive rule, each account more unbelievable than the last. She tried repeatedly to bang the gavel and restore order, but no one was listening anymore. The maintenance worker stepped up to the microphone, visibly shaken. For the record, he said, Miss Matthews told me to take the ramp to the landfill so it couldn't be retrieved. He turned toward me. I had no idea it was for a disabled child. She said it was abandoned. Junk. Someone dumped. 2 days later, I was in my front yard installing a new, sturdier ramp when a police cruiser pulled up. 2 officers walked straight to Karen's house and knocked. I couldn't hear their conversation, but I watched as they escorted her to the patrol car, not handcuffed, but clearly under official instruction. Neighbors gathered on their lawns, watching in stunned silence as the self-proclaimed ruler of Whispering Pines was finally brought low. That afternoon, I received a call from the district attorney's office. Karen had been charged with theft, destruction of medical equipment, and multiple HOA violations. Because she abused her position as HOA president to carry out these actions, the charges were enhanced. She faced up to 3 years in prison and fines exceeding $100,000. The DA was offering a plea deal, 6 months of house arrest, 5 years of probation, full restitution for the ramp, plus damages, 200 hours of community service working with disabled individuals, and a permanent ban from serving on any HOA board. That evening, as I helped Ethan up our new ramp, we saw Karen returning home. Her flawless hairstyle was a mess, her designer clothes replaced with the wrinkled pantsuit. When she noticed us watching, her face twisted with fury and humiliation. She slammed her car door, stormed inside, then reappeared moments later carrying a "for sale" sign, which she drove into her perfectly manicured lawn with enough force to nearly snap the stake. When she looked up and locked eyes with me across the street, I saw something I never thought I'd see: fear. Karen Matthews, who had ruled our neighborhood through petty authority and arbitrary rules, had finally learned that real laws applied to her too, and she was terrified.